In the bottom right, in the red, from Korea, our Zerg player, he is Solar! His opponent in the upper left, in the blue, from Korea as well, our Terran player, he is GuMiho!
All right, the audience is ready. And a very quick SCV coming down. A little proxy barracks play. And this is only a single proxy barracks, which is really actually not as common in this matchup. Like if it's, you know, Terran versus Protoss or Terran versus Terran, much more common, but just a single proxy barracks, like the Reaper is going to get there more quickly. It's going to be able to likely do a little bit of damage.
You know what's funny about this is that I think the Overlord's actually going to be able to spot this if I'm seeing the trajectory of its movement right, but you don't really see one barracks proxy anywhere near as much as you see 2 or 3 barracks proxies, so it's possible he sees this and doesn't understand which proxy it is.
On it, yeah. That's what I was going to say. Honestly, it would almost, I almost want to say it would be better for GuMiho if that Overlord saw the barracks, because a lot of times the barracks are stifled away from each other, and you don't want to lose it to a Marine. So just if he had scouted it, he might actually take more damage from overreacting to something that is not what he thinks it is.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I totally agree with you. Whoa.
Oh my God.
A factory is made over here in the bottom center.
Dude, this is really cool. Those gold minerals are in the way. He could drop a mule, or you can use your SCV to mine gold minerals, swap for blue, go to gold, swap to blue. There's a couple different ways that this can go. So GuMiho coming out with a very teched out cheese.
Yeah, this is a build I've just never quite casted before. And it seems like it's very much so tailored for this map.
Oh, for sure. Like that, I'm sure it couldn't be used really anywhere else. Now, this one Reaper, let's see how much damage it can actually get done here. It is in that base very quickly. The 4-lings will chase it out for now, but he's already gotten a drone, which is a little bit annoying.
And so we're moments away from seeing this build actually activate and even having a starport made over here. Literally all the infrastructure is being built in the middle of the map, right? I should say outside of the Terran's main.
Yeah, and you can't go across because he has Reapers, so Reapers will deal with early Zerglings, right? It's not like you can do a counterattack.
Right.
So what is he going to do? Is this going to be like Siege Tank Liberator to just push the natural?
I think you might be right, Artosis. You know, we talked about mining out the mineral patches, but maybe you want to actually use the mineral patches to keep the tank itself safe.
I believe that's what we're going to see. Like, it could be a Liberator that comes up. I feel like that would be best, but it looks like he's going to go for a medevac for now. A second barracks on the way. I mean, this is one of the craziest one-base all-ins I've ever seen.
And a bunker goes down here to just reinforce that position. I'm sure eventually the Reapers can come over here and fill that bunker up, or maybe we're going to start seeing some Marines be made. Rally down there as well. Excuse me, we already have 2, actually. I didn't quite see that. The tank is going to be out. The Overlord spots what's happening. The Queens are trying to come in here as quickly as they can. The drone is mining out the gold patch here. But this tank should be up and in siege mode in any second.
Yeah, he drops that siege tank as quickly as he can into the position. The gold minerals do not get mined out, and here we go. The rush commences.
The Reapers have now been dropped over here. This could allow for Ling's 2 counterattack if they're going to be used to try to help spot for the tank.
Dude, he's going for a 3rd barracks. He's using 1 barracks just to see what's going on, and the barracks at home will defend against the Ling counterattack because he's no longer in position with those Reapers. This hatchery is going to fall.
Yeah, he's going to be able to kill that hatchery, and we're going to see if he can do even more damage than that. That's going to knock Solar down onto 2 bases as the natural expansion has been destroyed.
And look at that, a Viking taking out an Overlord as well. The amount of damage that is occurring to Solar is immense. But don't forget, GuMiho does not have an expansion.
That's right, and it is still 2 base Zerg to 1 base Terran. He is beginning to ferry the tanks over the gold mineral patches, and in this position, if he does it right, he can cut off the 3rd base from the 2nd. These Lings will take this tank out, and this is going to soften GuMiho's position over here at the natural.
Yeah, I don't know how much more of a push he can do, but he's still not adding any sort of expansion on or anything. There's a Banshee with Cloak on the way. The 2 barracks are producing more and more. So I think that he's just going to stay on these 2 bases and try to finish this game out.
It's a funny game that's gone down so far. I mean, you look at what GuMiho did, and it looks like his strategy succeeded, but did this strategy actually slow Zerg down that much?
Oh, man. Well, you know, I think it did. I think that this was good overall for GuMiho. Killing that expansion is great. He's forced a ton of units. He didn't end up killing queens like I thought he would there, but Solar's playing so smart. He still has creep spread here. He's making a spore. He realizes that Cloak is on the way. So it feels like Solar's not going to really take much more damage.
The next target should be the Zerg's third base, the one that we're looking at actually right now. I'm wondering if he can muster enough units to come together and try to fight this. The problem is that there's a lot of roaches out here and Ravagers, and you know, if you don't have huge numbers of Marines and you have low numbers of tanks, a lot of times the Ravagers just target down the tanks with the corrosive biles, and it's pretty easy to fight them. Yeah, I mean, it could be. He is making some Banshees, though, that are really, really strong against those Ravagers. So I feel like that might be how he tries to cover up that weakness. Cloaks this Banshee, starts targeting down that Ravager, and look how quickly the Ravager pops. Yeah, that is a lot of damage as the second Ravager already goes down. Picking up the tank and the medevac. He's going to get another Ravager kill. We're going to have some more reinforcements merge up with this as this push is about to commence. And his expansion coming up as well, scanning to get rid of a bunch of that creep spread. A very scary army indeed. I feel like this is a situation where you don't even siege the tank. You just want as much mobile damage as possible. Yeah, I think you might be right. Some Lings are going to come in here for a counterattack. The wall is down right now, so he couldn't even get into the main, and that's exactly what happens. He's going to be going for these SCVs. Yeah, there are a few Marines there that are going to be able to slow down the counterattack. In the meantime, that Spore doing a great job against the Banshees. More units being produced here from GuMiho, and his army is starting to look a little bit scary. Okay, he's getting in range of this hatchery. Keep in mind that there is another hatchery about to finish in the location where that one was destroyed, and I think a wise move here from GuMiho. He weighed and measured the situation and realized he needs to get out. If he were to stay there, it would have been an overextension. It could have easily cost him this game. Well, you know what? During all of that craziness, he did, well, he loses another tank there, but he did also lose both of his cloaked Banshees, and that's pretty painful. I feel like those were... Like, he spent a lot of money getting those Banshees out. They were an important part of this composition, and now he can't deal with the Roach Ravager quite as well. Looks like these Marines are perfectly dropped into the blind spot, and this is going to be a lot of damage coming in here into the main for Solar. Yeah, good thing he doesn't have stim yet, or this would have been much, much worse for him, but already 6 drones going down, putting some damage onto some of these queens. The more queens walking up, and GuMiho will get out of there, but some nice harassment at least. I think Solar's very well stabilized here. Stim is a ways out. I think that it wouldn't even hurt Zerg to try to get a 4th base a little bit quicker here. You know, one thing about what GuMiho did is, you know, with all that infrastructure out on the map and even killing the hatchery, it did delay his second base quite a bit. And even after he gets his second base up, Ling counterattacks came in there and interrupted the mining. So, you know, GuMiho still is in a bit of an uncomfortable spot. Well, GuMiho, it looks like he's like kind of stabilizing, right? He has a 3rd command center on the way. He's adding a couple E-bays, so going to get those upgrades going. Starting to push out a little bit in front of his base with that siege tank so that he can expand a little bit more quickly. I wonder if this game can just stabilize into a normal Terran vs. Zerg. Do you think it's possible? Yeah, I actually think it is. I think it's completely realistic that we're just going to go into what could, you know, if we had just walked into the room and looked at this game, we would not have even known that the cheese at the start of the game had happened. Yeah, we'd get really confused if we go down there later. There's like a tech lab. It's like, wait, what? What? What's the mystery with that? That's wild. Okay, but the starport landing out in front here, and he's just trying to produce out of that as quickly as possible instead of floating it into the main base. Honestly, if he loses his ground, it's very, very likely that GuMiho will lose the game. So I think, you know, taking that forward position, just saying, nope, we got to take a little bit of a risk. We got to play forward. We got to get that 3rd base immediately. It's a good choice. That command center is about to land over here. As we're starting to see Solar's supply begin to pick more up and up. He is going for both armor and missile attack upgrades here. And he's continuing to power up with more Roaches and Ravagers. And so this should pretty organically end up with Solar attacking once his supply starts to really get high up. Another factory on the way right now. Armory coming up, just getting those additional gases. A lot of upgrades going on both sides, so we are in a little bit of a lull, right? Like, they both want to finish some of these upgrades, get their economies rolling, because no one is really super attackable at the moment. For now, we're going to see the tech continue onward here as Solar is going to power up more and more. It's been a pretty slow game, actually, since the craziness of the early on rush or the proxy, I should say, along with the push. Because Solar isn't going for any kind of mass mute play, it's very tempting for GuMiho to try to fly around the map with medevacs and drop. But I do want to point out that this is not as good of a map to try to drop everywhere as some other maps. The main is a little bit hard to get to. You have to basically fly over pretty defendable bases, and that the Zerg's automatically going to be taking. And so he's going to dump off some there and then switch it out to have this drop over here in the main. But, I'm worried that plays like this could be a mistake. Well, hold on. I guess he's getting some real damage in here. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to lose these units. And I think this should be easy for the Zerg to catch this on the way out. And, he's just going to have a little bit less when the Zerg is going to be close to maxing out.
Yeah, you could be right about that. But is Solar going to attack soon? Because he's going up into Vipers. He got the Lurker Den. It feels like he wants to complete his composition. And by the time it's completed, I think GuMiho should have enough siege tanks off of his couple of factories that it's not too much of an issue, right? Like, if you're going to play some sort of, like, Lurker, Roach, Ravager, Viper style, which is kind of the comp he's on right now, a lot of siege tanks is a great answer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It's a really good way to try to take that on. I think Solar's just finishing the final few pieces of his composition before he's going to start to try to activate himself on the map. GuMiho is doing everything that he basically needs to do, but eventually he's going to have to get a fourth base. He probably can't actually push for a while because we know Solar's probably going to hit into him very hard, and they're both going to trade out supplies. And after that, Solar's going to max out again. So, I mean, for GuMiho right now, he's going to have a long game of basically getting beaten up before he's going to have any opportunities to even get close to trying to end the game as with a Terran victory.
Well, you're certainly right about that. Like, he's waiting right now for 2-2, more siege tanks, and he is going into ghosts as well. So, like, once he has 2-2, once he has a bunch of tanks and ghosts out, and he maxes, okay, then he can push. But right now, sitting around 160, just continuing upgrades, not a good time.
No, certainly not. We're seeing the Zerg continue to fill in all of these vacant base locations here in the bottom of the map, continuing to grow out. Terran, does not, I believe, have a fourth base yet, but, will have one right now. He's going to land it over here down at the bottom. We're seeing a lot more command centers get built out. And I think it would be pretty reasonable if GuMiho was just going to try to turtle for an extremely long period of time this game. Let Solar start to soak up and metabolize all the resources on his side of the map. And GuMiho playing the defense game can hope that Zerg trades in unfavorably. And we go to one of those, I think at this day and age, pretty normal super endgame turtley TVZs.
Yeah, we definitely can get there. I really like his ad of the Vikings, by the way, to zone out the Vipers. The Vipers are really the only chance for Solar to break through these areas. Look at this tiny choke he's trying to get through. Runs up, throws down some biles. Okay, I mean, he's killing a couple tanks, but this still looks good for GuMiho. I can't imagine him getting broken here.
Yeah, he's going to come in here and force this command center to lift off. GuMiho is going to go back to the second line of defense just up that ramp. But, Solar, look, he's already trading out tons of units. He's still basically maxed this entire time.
And his queens up here, tasteless. He's pushed his queens all the way to GuMiho's base. The creep spread, actually something we haven't really been talking about. Really, really strong from Solar.
Yeah, nice snipes there with the ghosts. You need to have an overseer over there. Some pretty good kills. There's two planetaries that are being made just north of this screenshot here, and those are going to be extremely important because you could see oh, I'm sorry. Those are not planetaries. They're being made somewhere else. I was going to say, if you made the two planetaries up there in the wall, that's a lot you have to get through in order to get up there. I didn't think it was even a terrible idea necessarily.
Yeah. Well, no one will ever attack there, right?
Yeah,
if that's going to be the
I was going to say, if he makes two planetaries there, you're never, ever going to get this base over here at the left side of the map.
Yeah, it looks like he is going for mass orbital at this point. He wants those additional mules. He wants those additional scans. More upgrades coming for Solar, starting to prepare the melee upgrades as well. Definitely will be useful on the Zerglings, possibly Ultras later on. But for now, it really is turning into just Viper Lurker, which is a great composition. But can he actually ever break GuMiho with it?
You can see that there's really nowhere that the Terran can really go out on the map. And, you know, these are great moves in here to try to take these tanks out and really force a reset on that count. Terran right now sitting on 8 tanks, but any stray one that he sees, he's going to be sure to try to come out there and snipe it.
More and more lurkers, or banelings right now being morphed. A lot of lurkers in there as well. Like, Solar really wants to break GuMiho, and, you know, GuMiho is at that questionable supply. He's at 170 right now. I think he should be able to continue to hold on, but maybe Solar gets a good engagement.
He's going to come down now, and he's taking out that tank. You know, I do worry that, you know, Solar might be overextending a little bit here. You know, he has to basically force one of these command centers to lift in order for this to really be a success. We see the infantry coming out here now, and there's just not quite enough lurkers here to take this on.
Yeah, if you clear those lurkers, it's a lot easier to kill everything else. Does end up losing one of those orbitals that was acting as a wall. So a little bit painful. Still producing a couple tanks at a time. That tank in the back doing a fantastic job.
Oh, it seems like he wants to try to push into this. Okay, I think he wisely decides to get out of there. That Ravager is flipping out.
Completely stuck there, at least for a moment.
Ravager there. So, you know, he's still trying to force his way in, but he hasn't really gotten that much done. I mean, GuMiho's supply has been low, so maybe he can, you know, finally topple him here. But again, I feel like the positioning here, it's actually very, very good for GuMiho.
Yeah, he's got a great defensive line, but Solar is getting some damage done here and there, right? Like, the siege tank count is pretty darn low at the moment. He keeps picking them off, running in. It's hard to attack into that, and that's the GG.
Yeah, he just, you know, it's funny. To someone who's not that familiar with StarCraft, you could look at that and say, well, wasn't GuMiho not quite dead yet? I mean, Solar has so much of the map. He keeps plowing all these lings and lurkers in there. And it was just a matter of time before he fell.
Well, Solar really impressed that game. Dealing with such an insane rush build from GuMiho, this cheese that we have never seen before. You know, everything behind the gold minerals, pushing down the hatchery. He just did a fantastic job. But I think that GuMiho, execution-wise, was a little bit off. Losing those Banshees, he lost a couple siege tanks, maybe pushing a little bit too hard, and not getting enough consistent damage against Solar in that early game.
Yeah, you know, I like the strategy from GuMiho, but I also don't like the position it puts him in. You know, you have a lot of stuff out on the map. The Zerg does get a third base in a place that you really can't push after you kill that second hatchery. Like, it almost seems like that strategy was set up without really having a very clean, mapped-out plan later on.
Yeah.
It seemed like he wanted to keep hopping the tanks and Reapers or Marines or whatever over the gold patch, and then that didn't work. He goes, oh, then I'm going to push, and it's like, well, which one is it?
Yeah.
It seems to me like what you'd want to do is kill that off, pull out immediately so nothing gets sniped, and then wait exactly until that third hatchery is going to be remade somewhere else, and you push that the hatchery that was a little bit north of that, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, really well done from Solar to stop a cheese he's probably never played against before. He leads 1-0, but this is a best of 5, so still a long way to go. We are getting ready to get into game number 2.
All right, guys, let's go into that game now. Here, Solar versus GuMiho continues on. The loser is out of the Intel Extreme Masters here in Katowice. The winner gets that much closer to every pro gamer's dream of becoming the world champion. In the bottom right, in the red, make some noise for Solar! And in the upper left, in the blue, our Terran player. Give it up for GuMiho!
All right. Very excited to see what GuMiho will bring this game. Really surprising us with that cheese in game number 1. I think it was a great idea, very original. It didn't work, but it's not always going to work, right? And now he has to choose, what do we do next here to try to pick up a win? Because if he goes down 0-2, it becomes a big, long shot to move forward.
It does seem like what happened in game 1 really has no impact on what will be happening in game 2, 3, 4, and 5 if we're lucky enough to get that far along. That was designed specifically for that map to get in there. You know, it's funny, we saw the little gold minerals that you can mine out, and we immediately assume, well, you want to open that up.
Yeah.
Actually, no. You want to keep those there.
Sure.
And try to leverage that position. Now, GuMiho is known for having, you know, a lot of different styles. And some of those styles are unique basically just to him. A lot of cool stuff with Cyclones, but at the same time, we've also seen him play very, very standard, just getting medevacs and Marines, getting up to tanks, and doing that kind of push style. But dropping that first game, and I think some of it was a strategic failure there from GuMiho, we got to see what is the absolute best TVZ he's got to get to that next stage.
That's very, very true. And is it going to be one of these mech styles that we've seen him do many, many times to great effect? Or is he going to go for a more aggressive Marine style? I don't know which one he should really do, because I feel like Solar is maybe better against the Marine styles, but maybe the Marine styles are a little bit stronger still.
Yeah, it's tough to call. And honestly, Solar's pretty good at all of them. Solar's always been one of the greatest Zergs in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not easy when, you know, you're next to players like Rogue in Korea, right? Where Rogue can overshadow him. But Solar, you really don't want to count out.
Yeah, he's really been, like I would say, always within top 5 Zergs for 8 years in Korea.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes going as high as maybe second best Zerg, like right now maybe. But not having like a lot of championships or anything. Like I said before. Like I said before.
What's so funny, Artos? Quit messing around.
You're so funny, Tasteless. Oh my God. I don't know. These are some good gamers, Tasteless. You go for it.
I was actually saying hi to Apollo behind you, Artosa. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you. So moving forward in this game here, we actually, Artosis, we might end up having battlecruisers here.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Battlecruiser rush from GuMiho. It almost always goes into mech play afterwards. It's very rare for anything else.
We've seen Special toying with this idea a little bit as well. And obviously, in years past, we have had people come out with battlecruisers early on, try to harass. And, you know, if you've heard our casting, we've said this a lot, but it's worth repeating. You know, the battlecruiser, it basically will always get value. It will always get kills because it has so much hit points. It can warp into any position. And then all you have to do, you know, let it kill drones, queens, overlords, whatever. Send it back, repair, by then the next battlecruiser's out. And you're basically just getting value. Now, if you lose the battlecruiser, you are probably just going to lose the game outright because you've taken all your minerals and all your gas and spent them all on getting this one super unit early on.
Tasteless, this is a wild build. 2 things real quick. First off, the Overlord did not see the gases at the natural. That's huge. He's just, okay, now he's going to go in. Now he knows this is tech heavy. But it's more tech heavy than he'll probably think, because not only is it a battlecruiser, it is a second starport. He is going to go 2 starport battlecruiser.
Yeah, this is crazy.
This is awesome. Capital ships, Tasteless. Let's go.
We're going for box art armies in this game, Marcosis. Wow. Okay, so 1 battlecruiser is about to come out. Now, the fact that there's a second one coming out, that really does change the tempo. Once we get 3 out, the Zerg's going to be very thrown off. Because all Zergs at this point in time know how to do the balancing act of basically just barely having enough to hold off the battlecruiser while still making drones and developing your tech and economy. But when the 3rd one comes, when you're supposed to only have 2, that could throw the whole Zerg setup off balance.
Absolutely. That is the big trick there. You know when the second's coming in, but the 2nd and 3rd will arrive at exactly the same time. Look at this. The battlecruiser going after the queen. There's already 2 spores up here. There's already a lot of queens. So Solar was expecting battlecruisers, and he's defending well, right? It's only 2 drones so far. He's going to get an Overlord, perhaps. Yeah, no transfusions there. He'll do a little bit more and probably go home and repair. But like you said, the 3 battlecruisers at once might be 1 too many.
And I don't think he sends this back to repair just yet. I think you basically want to keep this one and micromanage that when the other 2 get there, because you want to have that, you know, all that damage coming out at the same time. He's brought Hellions in here as well. And I think we're about maybe a little bit under a minute away from that warp in actually coming in, and that's when we're going to find out what kind of shape this Zerg is going to be in. You can use that Yamato cannon, you take out one queen, and we're about to have 2 more in the picture right now.
This is huge. An Overseer flying in. It's going to find out, but a bit too late because 2 more battle cruisers are going to be on the way. Here we go, warping in across the map. Oh, look at that. Behind where the queens came out, it looks like he has decided to just dive. A Yamato going down on one of the queens, targeting another so quickly.
He's going to need to transfuse that Spore if he can. It goes down. These queens now trapped, cornered over here as the battle cruisers are going to charge in and lands a mule.
The mule is for repair. Oh my God. And the drone's actually going after the mule. He does not want any repairing to occur.
He's taken out so many queens. More are going to come up, but he decides to dive in on that as well. No battle cruisers have been taken out, and there's about to be 2 more that will warp in.
Oh, that's so crazy. He hasn't sent anything home for repairs yet. The mule got picked off pretty darn quickly as well. He's going to go ahead and retreat a little bit, picks off another gas, but there are a lot of queens, so he has to be careful. You don't want to lose these battle cruisers.
Oh, no, he's going to drop this one over here.
Oh, yeah, big mistake there, actually. Throws down the Yamato and will pick off yet another queen.
All right, he's taken that out. He probably needs to get those repaired here. The 3rd command center has been landed. Turrets are being set up. And there's going to be a little bit of room to breathe for now here for Solar. But again, he's really in hot water.
Man, these battle cruisers have done such a good job. It's a little bit painful that he ended up losing one there. And now we have the Spire up. Solar is going for some Corruptors to help with that battle cruiser menace, and we'll see if he's able to pick off a few more from GuMiho.
Now, the Hellions are going to get a lot of drone kills. This is actually an insane amount of drones. He needs to pull this away.
Yeah, it's not actually being microed like that well, I feel like. Only 9 drones so far. It felt like he could have gotten more than that.
That did seem like a lost opportunity. I think he could have gotten a little bit more over there. The Corruptors are going to come out here. They're going to try to catch the battle cruisers.
Oh, he's trying to find them. He doesn't know where they are. Okay, he sees one here. This can jump away, I think, because it just finished. Oh, he's going to lose it, though. Getting the Yamato off. These battle cruisers being repaired quickly, standing near some missile turrets. In the meantime, some more drones getting barbecued over here. The Hellions running into the mineral line. 13 drones have fallen.
Yeah, the Corruptors are going to make this a lot more of a headache. He needs to get those battle cruisers repaired very quickly. But, you know, I do worry, as fancy and as fun as this strat is from GuMiho, it does seem like Solar is starting to mass up enough Corruptors that he can just shut this down.
Yeah. But the Corruptor is not like the most useful unit other than shutting down some big air units.
Right.
So if you keep your battle cruisers alive and you get some other stuff that shoots air, the Corruptors start to scale down. They start to not be as impressive as they once were.
Now you see the Corruptors grouping up now. He's waiting for Flyer Attack +1 to come in. This could be a game where also he might just barely not have enough Corruptors and the battle cruisers end up actually overpowering
Possibly.
this. That is one way this could end. I'm not quite used to casting a game of this sort of tempo where there's battle cruisers coming out in pairs on 3 bases.
Yeah.
Where the Zerg is also just on 3 bases for now, trying to get a 4th. It's been a very interesting game as far as how things have built up.
Yeah, well, he has lost 4 battle cruisers so far, so that's a little bit painful, but you know what? StarCraft is a 2-player game. Solar gets some say in how many battle cruisers are on the map. But in the meantime, with all these factories being added, he does have a few missile turrets. Let's see what he wants to make. Like, are we going to see siege tanks? Are we going to see cyclones? Do you want to add some Thors in here for anti-corruptor?
Maybe. The Infestors are an interesting addition as well. I mean, you could, try to neural parasite something, or I mean, there's a lot you can do with an infestor for sure. Morlings are coming and roaches are coming. That seems to indicate to me that he's okay with the drone count he's got. He might have to remake like the 5 that he lost, but he may be looking for a fight after he tries to fend off the battle cruisers.
Yeah, it definitely could be. We've seen in the past some of the ways people fight against battle cruiser builds are like Corruptor into max roach and just kind of attack and overwhelm. I don't know if that's going to be able to work this time because there's so many battle cruisers. Cyclones being pumped out now. Magfield on the way for that additional damage. And here we go. GuMiho entering into that main base. He's going to deal a bunch of damage and then jump out.
This is from, first-person perspective here. The Yamato cannons are going to be coming down. The Solar's going to be counterattacking into there. I'm not clear on what he has to defend. The hatchery goes down in the main.
Wow, that is a huge kill. That was the lair as well. So he needs to remake a lair immediately here. And he did get to jump out the battlecruisers. He loses one, but it's very worth it for the damage he got.
Okay, you can see the Hellions are going to be surrounded now, but they did serve their purpose. Back over at home for the Terran, I'm very curious to see how things are going. I mean, is he basically continuing to develop? He did some counterattacks, he did kill some workers, but overall, GuMiho's moving along pretty nicely. And, you know, if we don't see these battlecruisers get taken out, I think this is just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, the amount of drones he's killing this game is pretty significant. Tries to jump out, maybe a little greedy with that battlecruiser. He does end up losing it. The supply's kind of similar, but the army that's being made by GuMiho scales beautifully. More and more siege tanks are joining. He still has a good amount of battlecruisers, but his upgrades are a little bit late. The 2 armories are just being made right now.
Corruptors have continued to be amassed now. It's an uncomfortable spot for the Zerg because this is not the kind of growth rate you want. You would want to have, at least half the map, creep paved everywhere, but, everything about this game has been different from any kind of ordinary game from the Zerg standpoint. The only thing that it is still kind of consistent with in a ZVT is that you're on the receiving end of attacks constantly as a Zerg player.
Yeah.
But those types of attacks are obviously very, very different.
Yeah, we're kind of getting to that range, though, where Zerg is getting enough that the attacks from Terran are probably going to stop. It's going to be more harassment-based, I think. Like fly down the side of the map with the battlecruisers. Maybe you can Yamato down one of the expansions and then jump out before losing them. But yeah, as we approach that hive tech and everything, Solar is going to get a lot more power and have some real opportunities to deal damage.
Yeah, things have quieted down with those battlecruisers. They are basically respecting the fact that the Corruptors will always be able to corner them and fight them. And so GuMiho's going to have to try to just combo those in with a push.
Now, the infestors we saw hiding, I think he got neural parasite, but I'm not entirely sure. He might be utilizing fungal growth. No neural. So he is just going to be using those fungals, which is a great spell as well.
Sure.
And, if you get a couple fungals down, run in with your corruptors real quick, you definitely can pick off battlecruisers. But let's see if GuMiho sees that coming, because, he's played this enough. He knows what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we have a couple of corrosive biles being shot out there. Solar is being pretty cautious not to overextend here. We see 2 turrets are going to be made. Obviously, the infestor can't get in there undetected underneath that.
When he scanned, he saw a burrow moving infestor. So as long as he saw that with his eyes and not just with the scan, yeah, see, he just scanned for it again, and it ran out of the scan range. And he's chasing it down now. Beautiful from GuMiho. But just knowing that your opponent wants to do this makes it so much harder for them to pull it off.
You're right. I mean, when you see the one burrowed infestor there, then you know exactly what he's planning. You know the tactic that's going to be inbound, and now he can basically play around that.
Now, the Corruptors are flying around looking for some sort of damage. A lot of Yamatos going, oh my God! I can't believe that he jumped that battlecruiser away. Absolutely clutch. Gets a bunch of Yamatos off. Gonna kill a bunch of roaches here as well. And what does Solar do? He just adds more Corruptors.
Yeah, he's gonna just try to stockpile more and more. We've got Vipers coming here now. Greater Spire almost done. And this is getting to be a bit of a headache. I mean, the Zerg is really not making a dent at all here on the Terran. The battlecruisers are such a headache, and that was a beautiful warp away when he got in there. And that's a moment where you're going to drop so many Corruptors and literally not kill anything.
Yeah, it's a painful thing indeed. And the thing is that GuMiho is expanding like pretty darn quick for playing mech. Like he's got a lot of bases going right now. He has more command centers on the way, so it's not like you're way ahead economically as Solar.
Okay, we have that tank taken out. And every time Solar engages here, he's basically suffering a loss.
Yeah.
And we are getting to that concept of the split map play where the Zerg has been expanding more quickly than the Terran because they have to. That's how they function. But the Zerg will therefore also probably run out of minerals on the map first as well, allowing Terran to basically take one of the last few bases on his side of the map, let the clock run, and the game sorts itself out and Terran wins. That being said, Solar hasn't been expanding like a normal Zerg because the early game was so weird.
Oh, we get some bungles down, though. Hold on here. And those are some beautiful Yamatos and everything, but it looks like the battlecruiser's going to get mostly destroyed. He loses quite a few there. A great engagement from Solar.
It's important to note the minerals that GuMiho has in the bank, or lack thereof, I should say. It can't just make whatever he wants right away. He has to let that come in. Whereas Solar, I mean, he was just a minute ago at 1.5K. He's maxing out. That means the gas and the minerals are going to spike back up. And we're going to see Zerg in this state where, you know, it's one of the toughest things in the game to deal with, is a Zerg that's maxed out when you're not maxed out, and they have a bunch of minerals and gas in the bank, because they can basically slam into you with their army, trade out, refill, and rinse and repeat. And sometimes that'll happen like 3 times. And by then the Terran is just too crippled from the first, few attacks.
Yeah. Now, right at this moment, GuMiho just finished 2-2 upgrades, which is fantastic, and he's actually switching his composition quite a bit. More Cyclones and a bunch of Thors. He scanned, he saw the Broodlords all morphing, so he's switching it up a little bit. And as you get a bunch of Thors, they do a pretty darn good job at getting those Broodlords off your back. So we're going to see if he can actually push those back and stabilize. Oh my gosh, look at that. The battlecruiser's running elsewhere for some damage at the same time. I love that idea.
Oh man, he's starting to really just topple GuMiho in this position. GuMiho has managed to max out again, but he's got to deal with these Broodlords.
Yeah, the Broodlords are a problem. He's waiting for his Thors to come out, and the Broodlords actually start to run away. Oh, here come the Corruptors going after the Battlecruisers. Do you jump out now?
I think he jumped in there. I don't think he can jump out. I think this was a huge mistake. Okay, never mind. I think he should have done that a lot sooner than Artosis. That was definitely weird.
Losing 2 extras doesn't seem like a great play, but he is counterattacking elsewhere. The top right looks like it will fall. Probably pretty likely that this one will as well. Those Cyclones deal damage just so quickly. Sieging the tank. Hellbat's coming up also.
GuMiho has the right idea when the Broodlords come out, is to basically play around the Broodlords. I mean, they're still slow and clunky and hard to really, maneuver. But what you can see here, once they engage you, it's very tough.
Yeah. The Broodlings make it so hard to micro against, right? A real problem. Oh, that damage is going to absolutely kill that. No way to repair out of something like that. Beautiful move with the Corruptors.
This is a wild game here. I'm not sure how many more functional bases Solar has right now and how many minerals are at them, but this is wild, man. Terran is starting to really chew through everything that Zerg has. It doesn't seem like Solar has an answer right now for a lot of these mech units on the ground unless the Broodlords can reach them.
Yeah, it looks like some Fungals come in. He's going to lose the last of his battlecruisers, but that's fine. He wasn't planning on using them too much anymore anyways. And now it's down to a lot of Thors, Hellbats, and a few Cyclones. Now, there's already Pathogen Glands and there's already Neural Parasite for the Infestors, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a ton of Infestors come out. Neural is fantastic against Thors.
He's going to be coming up here now. These eggs are about to hatch. The Broodlords are going to be out and in the game. We don't have that Neural Parasite coming out just yet.
Yeah, he's making a bunch of Infestors right now, but they are not ready. That is a high mana spell, so it's going to take just a little bit. The Thors bullying back just about everything. A great volley from those Broodlords, though. Picks off one of these Thors while the Siege tanks continue to attack this hatchery.
GuMiho is just going to try to hold this position. This is one of the most vulnerable bases on the map. An excellent place to try to target. I think those Thors, yeah, they can even shoot that from the low ground up onto the high ground. Not something you consider often with Thor range.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But he can't get into this one spot up here. Both these guys have been very beaten up. It looks like another hatchery is going to get eradicated up here in the north.
Yeah, a lot of damage being put out here by GuMiho right now. Both sides are maxed out. Both sides with around 130 army supply, which is huge, but here come the Infestors.
Yeah, and if he can chain together some Neural Parasites onto these Thors, it's going to be insane.
That would be a really, really big deal. Them just targeting each other with that huge amount of damage, not getting the damage against those Broodlords at the same time. Okay, he sees the Infestors coming in, but doesn't really move. Targets as much as he can, but look at this, stealing so many Thors.
Oh, this is so sick. They're going to be gunning each other down. The Broodlords are all cleaned up, though. The rest of these units, looks like the Thors actually might end up winning this fight anyways, Artosis.
Oh, yes, even more Thors down here. And GG is called. GuMiho ties up the series 1-1.
That was an insane game.
Insane.
What an ending. Literally just mass Thors. That was kind of an odd fight. We saw like 4 Thors and it looked like it was close, and then suddenly there were 6 more below them.
Yeah.
All right.
GuMiho really hit his macro that game, and to open up with 2 starport battle cruiser, not something that you see every day. GuMiho, the master of mech, showing how it's done against Solar.
It's such a funny game, and you can see that GuMiho is basically saving his very best strats for the later part of the tournament.
Yeah.
We didn't see anything like this from him, and we've been following him, all over the past week in his games. But he knows that Solar hasn't experienced, what we had in those first games. The proxied factory tank push that was specifically tailored for that map, and then the double battlecruiser play. Now, how many more styles does GuMiho have, or is he going to go back to something normal?
Yeah, it's impossible to say because he really can play more strategies than probably just about any Terran. Maybe only Maru has more. But really, there's no reason to hold back even one strategy, right? Like, after this round, the winner plays Maru, a Terran player, which is already hard enough. So you can't even play against another Zerg until the round of 4.
Right.
And possibly not even there. So right now, GuMiho should show his 5 absolute top strats.
I agree, Artosis. I think this is not one where you say, well, I've got even better stuff for when I get to the finals.
Yes.
I think once you've survived this final step, where you're in the final 8 here of Katowice, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, you can't save a single thing at this point. Like, maybe Rogue in his prime could have saved a strat for someone, but GuMiho, absolutely not. Solar is an equal match to him, at least. In fact, probably favored, like we were talking about before. And Solar, I mean, he played well that game. He had a lot of good ideas. He took a lot of damage early on, but still made it pretty close. Like, there was a point after he killed some of the battle cruisers where it was questionable. Was he going to be able to kill a couple bases of GuMiho and just set him too far back?
He was taking so much damage. He was expanding so slowly. And, GuMiho had this really patient setup here in the mid-game where he just did not go out. He did not budge. It takes a long time to make a bunch of battle cruisers, but that's fine with him. He just focused on that, a little bit of harass here and there, and tried to not drop any. Beautiful game.
Indeed it was, and that ties it up. It's 1-1 right now in this best of 5. Who will take the advantage? This is game number 3, and we're ready to go.
Going on into game number 3, Solar versus GuMiho. Somebody has to start to take the lead here. And honestly, I think anybody who thinks they can call this series is insane. This is so close.
Yeah, it really is.
In the bottom right in the red, make some noise for Solar. In the upper left, in the blue, our Terran player. Give it up for GuMiho.
And now we wait. What will GuMiho bring us this time? I feel like this is like the Terran version of Santa Claus.
Yeah. We've got our build order advent calendar out, Artosis. Each day we get a new weird way to fight Zergs.
And poor Solar, he wakes up every single game, checks in his stocking, and gets bitten by whatever it is that GuMiho left in there.
That's right. This game, to start things off, we do have the Terran taking a gas. I was sort of in the back of my mind guessing maybe he would go for like a very, very quick command center. This has been very trendy, especially in 2022. I don't think it's going to go away in 2023. But
we haven't seen it too much, actually, at this tournament, have we?
We've seen it a little bit, but, when we were casting, like, Season 2 of GSL, it was like I actually lost count of how many games we had. In fact, I started to just get surprised when people didn't do it.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is a strong play, but GuMiho veering away from that. He's going for a Marine first here. The Overlord just kind of scouting out the edges. He's looking in places with this Overlord that he suspects that barracks could be if you were doing some sort of proxy attack.
So this is very normal. You get your Marines out, and then you're going to take your command center a little bit later. This is, if you're going to copy a build, if you want to be a student of the game, try what GuMiho's doing. You know, it's very well-rounded. You don't die to rushes. At the same time, you do get an expansion up and get your economy going.
Yeah, everything looks pretty standard so far. By the way, we did just have that shot of GuMiho, and you may have noticed that instead of a hand and a mouse, he has a towel.
Yeah, it looks like a bandana or something like that over there.
That's right.
He does have hypohidrosis, so his palms become very sweaty, which he says makes the mouse a bit slippery. And you know, when we first started casting him a long time ago, I couldn't believe that anybody could actually play with a towel or a handkerchief over a mouse, but apparently you can at the highest level.
Yeah, and he's as fast as can be, so there's really no issue for him with that. It's just kind of an interesting tidbit about GuMiho. Now he's going for the factory. He's getting that second gas, so certainly we'll see a starport coming up. There it is. And, I mean, you'd imagine it's like reactored Hellions, maybe a Banshee or something, but you never know for sure with GuMiho. Oh, actually a second barracks coming up pretty quickly as well.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be just a couple of Hellions out here to try to mitigate creep spread, and then I think we're just going to go into Marines with the double medevacs.
Yeah, I think
Start to roam and push. This is, I think the build that if you have any expertise in Terran, you have to know from A to Z.
Yeah, like a 2-1-1 type of build. We saw Beyond do it a lot already in the tournament. It's definitely one of his favorite builds. Stim gets started, but I believe we just got a tech lab. Okay, no, that was just on that. No add-on yet on the Starporter Factory.
Yeah, and one medevac coming here. Interestingly enough. How many Hellions are actually out on the map right now?
I believe it's 2.
It's 2?
Oh, it's just one.
Oh,
just one.
Okay. All right, so this is a little bit of an altered version of some builds that we've seen.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a little bit different. Like maybe he's just trying to hit very quickly. The Hellion is going to be able to do some scouting, maybe tell him where the queens are, something like that.
Yeah, and getting to medevac one at a time, I mean, that basically says he needs to pick up and drop something earlier than normal. So this is going to be one medevac drop. This is a quicker drop than normal. A lot of times we see the reactor added on, and then we have 2 medevacs come out later on.
Oh, my
And he is threading this needle very nicely. He is going right through the blind spots. Oh, hold on. Oh, I don't think he saw it.
I don't know if Solar saw that. He sets up his queen to check for anything coming in. Probably think it would be Hellions, but it's actually a medevac. And here the Marines go. They do pick off a single queen, and he backs up. Not the end of the world for Solar, but he was caught a little bit off guard.
Yeah. This is an early medevac coming out. It did get the queen, so that's, a victory in and of itself, but I don't think it can get that much more than that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And
like maybe as Stim finishes, he tries again?
Yeah, it's interesting, but I guess, you get these picks off early on, and then the second medevac comes a little bit later. Maybe he's going to pack a little bit more punch once you can merge this all up together.
Well, it's a fair amount of Marines, really.
Stim's going to be finished, like, right as this drop's going to come in.
So he's got 13 Marines with Stim right now. So this could catch Solar off guard. In the meantime, we have a little bit of a counterattack with Lings, doing some damage there at the natural. But look at this, the Stim Marines, there's not enough units up here right at the moment to deal with this.
Yeah, these Lings are starting to tear up these drones down here. Nice position here with these Hellions.
Look at this, the few amount of Lings Solar has do get picked off, but he picks off everything else, goes towards that third base again, and actually doing a great job putting some pressure on here. All those eggs are just going to die when they open.
Yeah, he's going to have these Lings try to come down here. This hatchery is so low. If he could just kind of wedge his units, just like this. I don't know that the Lings could win the fight. It's going to be close.
Certainly a lot of efficiency here for GuMiho. Solar tries to pick off some of the medevacs, can't quite reach them, but you know what? During this, he did a lot of economic damage to GuMiho, let's not forget, right? Like that little Ling counterattack. Look at the SCV count. Only 36 against 56. That's actually a lead for Solar, I would say.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by GuMiho's play to just kind of come out a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
And hit these areas. And, I do think a Lesser Zerg takes even more damage. I was worried for Solar when the Marines and Hellions actually got in between the mineral patches.
Yeah.
This is actually a very old technique from the early days of StarCraft 1 as people realize that melee units really are going to have a hard time getting behind these tight areas.
Yeah.
And that really is something that ranged units can take advantage of.
Well, they traded pretty well, but if Solar hadn't done that little Ling counterattack, I think this would be a lot worse for him right now. Now, GuMiho comes up. He's brought a couple of siege tanks, sieges them kind of behind this little wall, stimming forward, hurting the queens, picks one off, in fact. Baneling speed is not quite done yet. The Banelings are hatching, but they can't really engage until they have that speed upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, he is really dealing a lot of damage. The shots that were fired on that hatchery earlier are starting to add up. He's going to try to come in now and take these tanks out. The Banelings do not have speed. The Marines continue to wrap around this tight angle.
Oh, speed finishes at the last second, and he does clear GuMiho's attack with that hatchery so low on health. GuMiho shaking his head in disappointment.
It's got to be frustrating, Artosis. You're so close to picking that thing off. And, you know, I would say Solar's in a very good position in this game now. He shut that down. It's very subtle, but if you look back at that, there was a moment where instead of just targeting whatever's closer, like the Queens of the Lings, you saw GuMiho get nervous and start to fire at the hatchery.
Yeah.
And I think that actually teed up the attack in from Solar. He said, oh, you don't think you have any sustainability here. Okay, and he came in and he perfectly cleaned it up. That hatchery at like 5% health or something.
I know. That's a heartbreaker because that really changes the flow of this game. If he had gotten that and lost those units, it's much, much closer. But right now you can see Solar with that 30 supply lead, 20 of it in workers of his own, and his economy just going unhindered.
Okay, he's actually getting way too greedy. He's going to lose both of these medevacs. And, you know, that push was bad. This drop was much worse.
Yeah, this is like 20 supply pretty much wasted.
It's almost like he was really looking for just maybe one angle he could get those last few shots off on the hatchery, and he kind of got up behind the minerals, and there's just nothing he could do. So, you know, from here, there's about a 40 supply lead for Solar. And this may allow Solar to actually start to be aggressive on his own here. He's going to continue to crank out upgrades and power up.
Yeah. I think Solar, the way that he's playing right now, is brilliant. Like, he has destroyed enough GuMiho units and slowed his economy enough that Solar literally doesn't have to worry about taking damage from GuMiho anymore. You just kind of block a few drops here and there, spread your creep, and you're safe for a very long time. And right now, he's teching up towards that hive. He's getting 2-2 for his Zerglings. He'll probably go into Lurker, get some Vipers 100%, and there's really not much GuMiho can do to slow him down.
Yeah, having these Hydras and Banes out, it's pretty scary. Terran is on 3 bases, soon to be 4. We need to see that additional command center complete here. But the supply disparity is very much real. You know, we've had 2, honestly, big failed attacks. You know, it's okay to trade and then get out, or to trade and kill the hatch. But if you get neither and you're not killing drones too, it's very bad.
One thing I got to point out here that the Observer just showed us, great job Mapu, is the Drilling Claws upgrade. He's got the 2 factories, and he's going 1 factory siege tank and 1 factory mines. So with Drilling Claws, he doesn't have it quite yet, but those slide under very quickly. You might be able to get some more kills, and this is not something you see against Lingbane Hydra that often. It certainly can work, but it's not that popular.
Oh man, big kills over here on these 4 queens. Ooh. Is this going to be a position that maybe GuMiho can try to set up to put some more pressure onto that hatchery where he never got that closure? He never got that kill.
Dropping out the mines elsewhere, gets that very, very quick burrow. A little bit annoying for Solar to deal with, but his economy is great. He's got 80 drones. Realizing now, oh, we have this mine that's about to reset. You got to be careful about that.
Yeah, meanwhile, these Lings are still gathering up. Solar about to be maxed out here. We have the 4th base being taken. It actually looks like he's going to land over here in the center left for the Terran. Yeah, he is going to move that over there. I thought he was actually going to go up to 12 o'clock, but instead he's going to just kind of lean into the far side of the map here. Big drop in the main.
This is a big move. Solar is not far enough across the map to counterattack, so he must come back and defend. Oh, gets rid of the Adrenal upgrade and the spawning pool. Beautifully done.
Yeah, taking that out is huge. That's going to really, you know, take the wind out of the sails here for Solar. You can't really be aggressive with those Lings until that upgrade's done. Huge catch there.
Look at this, trying to hit another location. Lurkers come up for so quickly and will be able to push him back. But here comes the drop into the main once again. Oh my god, there's no units here! And GuMiho gonna get a bunch of damage once again! He's going after the Hive, Tasteless!
He's gonna hit that Hive right now. I don't know that that pool has been finished yet. If he could take the Hive out, then there would be no way to get that Adrenal Gland for a long time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You better start that immediately.
Yeah, this is a very unusual position where you could end up denying one of like the most important upgrades for endgame from Zerg, although I think he's gonna be able to get through.
He might actually forget to get it now. You know, that's like an upgrade you just get at the beginning of Hive and you don't think about it anymore. But GuMiho trying to land elsewhere. He's going to get pushed back. And as you see Vipers join, these moves become a lot more dangerous for Terran, right? The Vipers, they can abduct in the medevacs. They can throw down the parasitic bombs. Like, look, bam, 10 supply gone.
Yeah, great catch over there. GuMiho, you know, he's tried his best to get out and do what damage he can do, but he's really not making any progress with that. We've had a lot of exciting fights where basically Zerg just defends it and is in good shape.
Now a lot of Ling Bane running in here. GuMiho cannot take that engage at the moment. Runs back part way. Oh my god, a huge flank coming from Solar on the side. Lings and Banes absolutely everywhere, overrunning the Terran position.
He's continuing to come through here, really thinning out the army. We see Solar supply spiking back up. There's nothing that GuMiho can do. GG.